Namaste, my dear friends. I'm today traveling. Currently, I'm located in a beautiful place next to the ocean. Currently in Phuket, and maybe soon traveling on. So, as I promised, I continue posting videos and sharing information. And today I felt like sharing some news about Amanita Muscaria, and just to give you maybe a small overview of what is right now the legal status in different countries. So there were this year has came out very, I would say, hidden information because there were no public news about it and there was no information. But currently this year, Amanita Muscaria has been banned in Switzerland. So the story is that I think, if I'm not mistaken, in May they passed a law this year. The Amanita Muscaria is now illegal. In other words, the compounded Muscimol is illegal, and through that, Amanita Muscaria by itself became illegal. And they literally put Amanita Muscaria into the same drug sequence as, let's say, the level of cocaine, heroin, and the rest. So when a person from Switzerland is found that he is holding some Amanita Muscarias, or they're growing in his backyard, and he picks them up, that's the moment he can get already in trouble. So why did this happen? Eventually, you have to know that there are three main centers where all of the international laws connected with the pharmaceutical industry are happening in Europe. That is Switzerland, in Asia, that is Japan, and the final country, you guessed it, US. US is, of course, the most corrupt country for the topic of earning money on people's health. As eventually, you know that we have over 200 countries around the world, but one country creates more than makes more over 50% of the profit of all pharmaceutical industry. That is US, and that is the third place. We have the FDA here, which regulates and gives permission or not permission for those pharmaceuticals to come out and eventually for people to consume them. So Switzerland is kind of the heart for that here in Europe. As a result, we speak about Muscimol as an element. Of course, Amanita Muscaria was studied in the past, and of course there were scientists who were studying also Muscimol, and even the pharmaceutical industry was studying Muscimol, the main component in Amanita Muscaria. And the interesting thing is, I even saw a scientific research which lasted for over 40 years, exactly connected with Muscimol. And the results were so astonishing, it was so effective in providing people, let's say in the test, a clear vision and feeling of very calmness and centeredness, when at the same time it had no negative effects. What does it mean? That how they're making scientific tests. First, they test them by the biochemistry, then they start to test it on animals. And the testing on animals, it's kind of the next level. And they were making even experiments where they were taking literally just Muscimol and they were just putting it into the brains, directly into the brains of the monkeys. And nothing happened. In other words, with the monkeys was everything good. There was no damage, and as a result, all of the tests showed that Muscimol by itself, it doesn't have any negative effects on the physical body of the person. On the opposite, it works as a great opioid without those side effects, which the majority of the chemical opioids exist. So you have to know that if you want to be healthy, I highly recommend you to start to study nature and to start to study a little bit the history of, let's say, of healing. And you will discover that our ancestors knew the answers to all of the diseases. And the only reason why we lost this knowledge, because we're trusting higher authority as through doctors that were educated on petroleum medications. You have to know that the current medical system was created on the money of the big oil corporations. The same thing, they put their hands into the food industry in modern times, the tobacco industry, but it's all the same gang of people. And eventually, if in the end of the 19th century you can find 99% of all things in a pharmacy were made from nature, then now it's 99% or maybe 99 made from chemistry. How come? Because chemistry, it creates an illusion of healing, it suppresses the pain, but it doesn't solve the root in many cases. Of that reason, it's very profitable that a person would be always half healthy, half sick, so that, let's say, people would think that it's normal to go to visit the doctor once a year. For me, I think that's bizarre and stupid. I haven't visited doctors for many, many, many years, and I don't see a point of going there. And I know that there are some people that think that it's normal to go to a doctor every 1, 2 months. Well, I can tell you, if you think that that's normal, then you're in capitalism. And this capitalism, your health is being, used for the benefit of profit rather than for the sake of your health. So for going back now to Switzerland, I don't know the details, and I can only set up my own personal assumptions and exactly connecting that Switzerland, it is the number one country in Europe connected with the legislators who are making laws for the pharmaceutical industry, which creates such a huge profit that is just, I think, second and third place after wars and resources. In other words, in healthcare and the money that we spend there, it's tremendous. So when Switzerland, by being this place, Swiss people are very smart and very educated, and as you know, as they didn't participate in wars, were able to preserve their unique culture. And at the same time, there's a lot of wise people there. And at the same time, there's also a lot of, as I call, parasites, people who are living there, and because they're doing different schemes historically and are using, let's say, the country for their own personal benefits. So that means when there's any natural healing method coming out again, and if it creates a problem on the topic of profits, or if you cannot patent at it. So to make a patent, you can make it on any chemistry and pharmaceuticals, but you cannot make a patent on nature. Because when you take any nature substance, it doesn't have one element, it has many elements. So eventually you would have to write many patterns to try to tell that this is mine and nobody can use it in the world, and you have to pay me profit so that other people won't die. If they want to heal, they have to pay me money to use my medicine. So, and for that reason, I'm not surprised that somebody noticed that in Switzerland there's a very great and awesome community of people who are helping each other, studying Amanita already for, I would say, for at least 3 years, as I know. And as a result, people started to get wonderful results from their work. Many started to become awakened. Many have healed from certain things that they couldn't heal themselves through natural or chemistry medications. And of course, I have friends there who share how things are going. And I think in Europe, in Switzerland, it's the most interconnected Amanita community that I know. And I think it's the biggest amount of people who went through ceremonies exactly in a sacred, spiritual, deep way, thanks to my close friends. As a result, I think all of this created a vibration that the eyes of specific people from the pharmaceutical industry got focused on that topic, and very quietly, very peacefully, without anybody knowing, they just passed a law and they put it Muscimol into the category of drug abuse. So, and there's a story that I think that was a woman or a man, doesn't matter. They ordered Amanita from the east, and when it came, the police literally came to the door of the person and told them that, do you know that you're ordering drugs and that you're actually right now breaking the law? Which law? When? Because Amanita grows in Switzerland, you understand? It's an ancient Swiss mushroom. Ancient Swiss mushroom, the same as our European ancient mushroom, the oldest. And they literally told him, well, now by the new law, which was passed on 2, 3 months ago, which nobody publicly has ever spoken, you are now under special investigation because you have ordered drugs. And for that reason, we will create problems for you. Now we're going to put you a special mark that everybody would knows that you're connected with drugs. Now you're going to have problems here, there, there. In other words, Swiss people, I would say they hate or they have always issues only with two topics. Uh, I would say three topics, but two are the main ones. The two main ones, it's problems and issue with neighbors. Everybody has some kind of special relation with their neighbors. And the other ones is, of course, government. Show me a country where everybody loves the government. So eventually, of course, when this information came as a result that a person got into the register as being a person who is trying to smuggle drugs, of course, it was a very big shock for everybody, for all the Amanita community. And when I found out, I was really amazed. So for now, you should know if you're from Switzerland or if you're traveling to Switzerland, then be careful with Amanita Muscaria. If you find it in the forest, great. If you put it already into your basket and the police stops you, you might have already problems and issue. Is it an effective law? Of course not. Well, it's definitely an effective law if you want to keep people sick and you want people to continue consume pharmaceuticals, then it's an effective law. But for the interest of the health and the culture of the Swiss people, it's of course a destruction. And I very hope that there will come people into power who will pay attention to this topic and eventually will provide the Swiss people the opportunity to use the most ancient, growing, and used mushroom of the Swiss culture. Even though in modern times many have forgotten, but this is exactly our ayahuasca. This is exactly our medicine plant, which our ancestors were using, they were healing from it, they were getting answers from it. And of course, I personally support that people wouldn't use anything, any chemistry or let's say any medicine plants, so that everybody would be so healthy that they would feel themselves in full strength in our own natural body and way. But unfortunately, we live in a time that we're being poisoned so much for so long that we need to use certain instruments that will assist us to clean, to heal, and to transform our physical, emotional, mental bodies, so to open up our spiritual bodies. Now, for that reason, I much hope that there will come a politician or a group of people who will sincerely support the protection of Swiss nature, including Swiss mushrooms, and would develop a program in assisting to use natural plants and medicines which are located on the land from nature, on the Swiss, in the Swiss country. And of course, anybody who is trying to limit the access towards nature or towards the forest should definitely be banned from politics. They definitely have to follow that group and see who is organizing it, because we're a part of nature. And if we won't protect our nature and our relationship with it, you can trust me that the chemistry industry will continue to poison and to destroy the health of us all. So that's why trust yourself, trust nature, study how chemistry works, study how organic works, and most important, trust your soul, trust your inner feeling. So I'm sending much love and blessings, especially to our Swiss community. And I hope everybody will be very conscious on this topic by now. And if you ever decide to order Amanita, well, definitely never write Amanita and don't send it in caps. This is all I can recommend. That it's always best of all to protect yourself, to know the laws, not to break the laws, to respect them, and to keep the wisdom inside of yourself, how best of all you can take care of yourself. So for that reason, this is some news for all of our Amanita community around the world. So let's stay informed, let's be wise, and let's continue sharing the stories. And I hope that soon there will be some even there will be some positive and cool stories that I will share about Amanita and our world community. So much love, much blessings, and always in touch. Namaste, my dear friends.